What's a social norm you secretly wish would disappear? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. Cheap gift exchanges. I'd rather get nothing from my coworkers than more plastic tchotchkes from the dollar store. It's part of our culture of overconsumption. And I hate that I'm expected not only to enthusiastically accept the junk, but also to give in kind. Story 2. I'm 50 plus years old, okay? I grew up using landline phones. It was completely normal when no one answered your phone call. Now, people expect you to be tethered to your smartphone and get pissed when you don't answer. It's irrational. Just because you called doesn't mean that I am available. Edit, asterisk. Also, just because you text doesn't mean I'm available to respond, asterisk. Story 3. Putting your child's entire life on the internet. I'm so glad I was born in the 90s and not today for this reason. Private lives being a thing of the past, literally filming and photographing every minute detail of their lives, etc. Story 4. Having your phone out 24/7. Put it away at dinner. Put it away when shopping. Don't have long FaceTimes or speakerphone on for more than 2 minutes when you're in public. Put it away when hanging out. Put it away when driving. Live in the moment with people. Story 5. Instant gratification in everything. Amazon's 2-day shipping, if it even takes that long, texts and emails being expected to be read and responded to right away, fast food, and so much more. Our lives are going by faster and faster, and it's hard, if not downright impossible, to process it all. I stopped wearing my Apple Watch, and I started blocking my phone for several hours at a time every day, and it has helped me get such a better grasp on my life. I'm a firm believer that this generalized and insanely fast-paced lifestyle is a major contributor to many people's anxiety. Story 6. The high expectation around post-secondary education. We do need people with university education and higher levels thereof, but not at the level or breadth we treat as normal or desired nowadays, especially when degrees sometimes get you into jobs where you often learn everything you need on the job rather than from school, essentially making the degree a token of entry rather than suitable preparation. It's a source of debt, stress, and lost labor we don't need, nor should be burdened with, unless it really is useful to your career. And we already seem to recognize how huge experience is and your body of previous work. Story 7. The amount of gifting annually for the sake of some arbitrary occasion is nuts. Now, I get that gifting people is nice, but you should gift someone because you care about them and think it would be a nice gesture, not because some consumerism culture teaches you that this day is a day you should buy people a gift. Story 8. Suits and uncomfortable clothing. I am an attorney and absolutely hate suiting up in the middle of summer. Let's just dress up comfortably and discuss the issue like grown-ups. There's no need to play dress up. Story 9. I wish the stigma around taking unpaid time off would disappear. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, so once I've used up my paid leave, I still want to take time off. But every time I do, people hit me with, "But you're not going to get paid." And when I say, "Yeah, that's fine," they still give me weird looks. Story 10. Obligatory thank you notes, specifically for weddings. I love getting and giving a good card. I enjoy writing out heartfelt messages for birthdays and Valentine's Day saying all the things I love and appreciate about my loved ones. But thank you notes for weddings are so. I don't need you to tell me how much you'll treasure the towels I got you or whatever. They were on your registry, so I already know you like them. Thanks for the money feels so hollow and just kind of icky. I pride myself on giving excellent gifts for birthdays, Christmas, etc. that I keep an eye out for all year round. So to be formally thanked in writing for what's probably the least thoughtful, most low-effort gift I'll ever give someone, either I clicked a button on your registry or I wrote a check, just feels kind of silly. It also seems over the top to expect this couple who just finished planning a huge event for hundreds of people and probably tens of thousands of dollars to then write hundreds of individual notes thanking people for plates or whatever. If someone went above and beyond supporting you, then sure, feel free to send them a card. But if I attend your wedding as a guest, please know the lovely party is thanks enough and feel free to save yourself the labor and the stamp. Story 11. Loud, often live music at restaurants and bars. I understand background noise, fine, but I can't handle a band playing so loud that I can't hear myself think while I'm trying to socialize with friends over a meal. Story 12. This may be more of an American thing, but tying our self-worth to our productivity. I see people who run themselves ragged, taking pride in working 60-plus hours in a week. I used to be like that, and after 5 years, I was suicidal and physically ill from stress. But I hate the mindset that people need to be work-ready 24/7. I had to explain to a peer in another department that I am not on call. I'm not paid salary either. When I step foot off campus, it is my time. He was incredulous and called me lazy. I worked a contract gig, and I was only required to work 40 hours. It was heavily implied that I was expected to work overtime. People were averaging 70-hour weeks. I refused. OT wasn't mandatory, and I was under no obligation to work beyond my requirement. Needless to say, they found a reason to fire me after a couple of months. Which brings me to a similar point. I hate the mindset businesses have that overtime opportunities is like manna from heaven. I pissed off a bunch of executives at one company because they were stroking their dicks about how they were doing the peons a favor by offering them overtime. And I had to explain that if there was a constant demand for people to work overtime, it was indicative of a fault within management. Needless to say, I was let go from that job too. There is no shame in taking time to do nothing. Sometimes it's necessary. There is no shame in taking and keeping time for yourself either. Story 13. Being expected to make eye contact unless you want to be perceived as rude. I'm autistic, and eye contact is excruciating for me. I simply can't have a normal conversation if I have to make it. If I force myself to, I'm not focused on the conversation because I'm just thinking about whether I'm making enough eye contact or too much, and how uncomfortable I am. But if I don't have to make it, I can engage in a much more meaningful way. I think it's hard for a lot of people, and I just wish that could be generally respected. Story 14, whistling. I detest it. I hate that it's somehow a show of being cheerful and happy, and to ask someone to stop means I'm being miserable. No, Brian, it's not miserable. I just don't want your high-pitched noises interrupting every single thought I have while trying to focus on my job. It wouldn't be acceptable if I just started randomly squealing along to music, so why these whistling to it acceptable? Story 15, opening any kind of text exchange on phone or IM at work with hi and waiting for a hi to send me the rest of your message. Just get on with it. I don't care about your hi. And I hate feeling like I'm being rude when I don't start my own messages with hi. I'm busy, you're busy. Keep it moving. Story 16. Social media as a weapon. Rude, unnecessary exchanges with strangers online. Cough, cough, this app. Rude subliminal posts about people you know online. Even rude direct exchanges with people you know online. I remember when forums first came out and we'd have these intense school assemblies about cyberbullying, and it made sense. Kids needed to be taught how to responsibly handle technology. Well, so do adults. Sometimes people do really fucked up, and yeah, they deserve to get blasted for it. But nothing makes my eyes roll harder than reading a post absolutely meant for a specific person to see. Like, just call them or stop whining. Celebrity beef culture hasn't helped, because now people want to emulate that. It's just all around way too normalized and super cringe. In real life, people close to me hate how bold and straightforward I am with strangers, and those familiar to me. Maybe that's exactly why it bothers me. Because in real life, I know most people barely have a bark or a bite if actually put to the test. Story 17. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's a first date, it should be Dutch. Men don't owe you anything. It's not their job to pay for anything. Ladies, pull your weight. You're not even a couple yet, so don't make the guy jump through hoops for you. Your worth is not found in how many free dinners you're getting. Come on now. Guys, be a gentleman first, but not a doormat. The 50s are over. Story 18. Child support being given to the people without any type of limitation. Put the money on a card that can be tracked on purchases. If nails, hair, and your rent or hobbies aren't something you can handle on your own, don't use child support to do it. There's spousal support for a reason. Leave the money for your kids' needs. I'm happily married with a son. Story 19. Feeling obligated to say yes to things, especially with coworkers and extended family. It shouldn't be considered rude if I don't want to go to your birthday party or out for drinks or over for dinner. I like my house, with my stuff, where I eat my food. Please don't make me feel bad for being a homebody. Story 20. People celebrity worshiping. I no longer have any friends from HS college because I could not understand why you people take celebrity voices so seriously. They're literally just like us, regardless of their upbringing. I had too many arguments with friends about not wanting to hear celebrity gossip or whatever drama they have going on in the press. I guess this also goes the same for people who have wealth such as Elon. I don't understand why someone having so much equates to intelligence. It does not, and we should not worship other humans based on these measures. Story 21. Tipping. The tipping culture in America is insane, and we all know it, yet it is everywhere and cannot be avoided. It's gotten to the point where I can't walk into a single place of business without having an iPad turned around in my face. No, I would not like to tip on the Chinese food order that I placed and then drove here to pick up. Story 22. The 9-5. I recently negotiated with my boss to come in at 4 a.m. so I could go home at noon. I get like 6-7 hours a day with my wife and 5-month-old son instead of maybe 2 hours before my son goes to sleep. I am 30 years old, and I simply have never been able to just accept that getting home at freaking dinner time is just how it's done. I don't live to work. Work is just an unfortunate obstacle to facilitate my life and family's comfort. Every position I've ever been in, I've always been the guy that makes waves to be leaving work as soon as possible. Story 23. The "oh, it's getting late," and "oh, I'm getting sleepy," and "I gotta get up early tomorrow," and the cleaning up from the table instead. Thanks for visiting, but I want to be alone now. Do you want a last cup of tea before you go? I overstayed my visit at people's places so many times because they just don't tell you that they want you to leave. The non-genuine "how are you" small talk in general. Business is opening at 6 in the morning and closing around 6 in the evening. Most of us are not morning people. Why the hell would we all be expected to wake up so damn early? Story 24. The majority of us are programmed for our entire lives: childhood, college, career, spouse, career, kids, retirement, kids, grandkids, kids, grandkids, death. I hope that humans continue to push back on what has been considered normal. We all weren't meant to have kids, go to college, be monogamous, etc., etc. Let people live how they want to live, and my OB. Story 25. Orthodox thinking, either from the left or right. I went to college in the late 80s, and we had open debates in college classes that were glorious. Now I think there are clearly two teams, each that has a view that 100% of their team's answers to a series of unrelated issues are the truth, the way, and the light. This makes a liberal education a worthless endeavor. If we aren't building independent thinkers, what the hell are we doing? Story 26. Being expected to bring something, usually a bottle of wine or dessert, etc., when invited to dinner at someone's place. Foffman. If I invite you to my place for dinner, it's because I want to make dinner for you. All I want from you is to show up and say thank you when you leave. The last thing I want is for you to pay me by giving me some gift that I probably won't like anyway. And don't invite me if you require payment either, because I'm not bringing with me. Story 27. Small talk. It's not rude to not be interested in how my random coworker's day is every single day. Some people would rather just do our jobs and go home and not have to make the same shallow conversations all the time. It's exhausting. Story 28. I secretly wish the social norm of small talk would disappear. It's like everyone feels compelled to chat about the weather or how busy they are, but sometimes it feels so superficial and exhausting. I'd rather dive straight into real conversations or just enjoy some quiet time without the obligatory pleasantries. Story 29. Giving a gift at a kid's birthday party. I have many nieces and nephews, and my friends have children. I know once my baby starts school, there'll be even more parties. I can't afford all these gifts. We're in food stamps. It actually causes me to dread the holidays and birthdays. I wish I could attend and say I love you without having to be embarrassed at struggling to buy a gift. Nobody has been mean to me about it, but that's just the thing about social norms. They're enforced by the culture. Story 30. Shaking hands, how this didn't go away due to COVID, I don't know. I just fist bump now, but some people seem confused and insist on shaking hands. Gift giving to bosses. I'm a boss and I tell my team to stop buying me gifts. I make more money than you. You shouldn't be buying me gifts. Actually, many occasions that call for gifts should be eliminated. I'm good with weddings and baby showers, but birthdays, anniversaries, tipping is out of hand in the US. I tip, but would rather the cost of the food, delivery, etc. just include tipping. It's awkward at times and it's unnecessary. Door-to-door salespeople can off. They don't stop talking even after you say no thank you. I put up a sign and they still ring the doorbell. I started asking if they can read, and if so, why the hell did they ignore the sign above the doorbell? Story 31. Remembering people's names. I know it's considered polite, but I can't control whether or not Key Brain remembers someone. Even if I try hard to remember, is it really that important? If I never have to see them again, who cares? If I see them often, then I'll naturally remember. But I shouldn't have to be expected to remember someone's name when I see them for the second time. Story 32. Voice notes. They're convenient for the sender, but really inconvenient for the receiver. Unless there's a good reason for that. For example, if my partner is having a tough time with our toddler, then I think it's a pretty rude thing to do. When I receive one, I don't know if it's going to be personal or private. So if I'm in public, I need to find somewhere private to listen to it. If it's from my wife, it could be something medical or personal. If it's from a colleague or employee at work, it could contain something confidential. If it's a long message, I can't just look at it while formulating my response. I have to listen to it again. If you want to talk, phone me. If you're sending a WhatsApp message, just write it. Story 33. Wish we could stop pressuring, physically dragging, and otherwise trying to force people to dance just because other people are dancing. It's not cute or funny to try to force people to do things they don't want to do after they've said no, period. Even if you know them, not everyone wants to dance, and that's okay. Similarly, wish we could stop pressuring people to drink alcohol and assuming they're either an alcoholic or no fun just because they don't want to. It's not funny to pressure or try to force people to do stuff they don't want to do. It's immature and rude. If you truly need someone to do the thing with you in order to be able to enjoy doing the thing yourself, that's called codependency. If someone says no, let them be. TLDR, get rid of the social norms that people have to dance or drink, otherwise they're stuck up or no fun. Story 34. Obligation to buy and consume for holidays. Gifts and ridiculous amount of sweets and unhealthy foods for Christmas, Easter, Hanukkah, etc. All holidays are consumerism-centered, especially in the U.S. Another biggie in the U.S. Overdecorate outside and inside your home with holiday crap. So much waste, so tacky, visually polluting. St. Valentine's, St. Patrick, Easter, 4th of July, Halloween, Christmas, etc. Some decor for major holidays may be okay, but not over the top nor something that you discard every year or that blinds your neighbors and wildlife. Story 35, social media and phones. I'm 20F, and when I was 16, I had 10S of thousands of followers on one social media, and I got tired of it by the time I was 19 and deleted all of my content and privated my account. I hate that I feel the need to respond to people even when I'm busy, and that I can't truly be in control of who's seeing parts of my life unless I just don't post at all. But there's always pressure to be online and post and like other people's content and all that. I just want to get rid of it. I have deleted all social media besides Reddit for about a year now, but I still have people texting me I don't want to answer. Story 36. I secretly hate that I'm expected to tip for services that aren't food service related. For example, getting my nails done, haircut, colors, waxing, etc. I thought the whole argument for tipping in the States was that restaurant servers aren't paid a normal paycheck and are literally making their living on tips. So as much as food service tipping system sucks here, I get it. I will always tip 20%, 30% at restaurants because of this. But when I go to get my haircut and color that was already $300 plus to begin with, I secretly resent having to tip 20% or whatever on top of that. Like, just make the price the price. I know some people will say tipping is optional, or the whole tips are never expected but always appreciated bit, but I don't buy it. I will always feel like an asshole if I don't tip on top of the price for services. I genuinely like the people I go to for this stuff and want them to be compensated as expected, so I will still always tip. I just wish it had never become a thing in the first place. Story 37. Voting for laws that take away people's freedoms when we would be just as good without because you do not believe in it. I think the issue should be addressed by personal experiences and that persecution does nothing to change a person's perspective on life. It is a cruel way to do things and is tyranny that our country is based on opposing. So why are we enforcing it? I can understand some laws that have to do with being conservative, but I think a lot of them should just be left to the individual because they know what's best for them. And if we want to change people, we should appeal to them, not alienate them. Story 38. Publicly filming everything. I hate being on camera in any form, and it's a bit bizarre to me that I might be a background character in some person's video that I've never met. But even friends when they shove a camera in your face. That being said, I acknowledge the value of having a camera at all times and would encourage everyone to do so. Story 39. Filming and photographing everything. I'm a musician, and when I see people standing completely still filming me instead of enjoying the music, it pains me. No one is ever going to watch your shaky, blown-out video of me playing a dive bar. Just enjoy life without worrying about documenting it. Story 40. Baby changing tables being in the open in a bathroom. I know it would be more costly, but I'd like the option to have privacy for my baby. He's a little person, and feel that he deserves some privacy and dignity too. Also, I don't trust random strangers. It's only happened once, but a lady made me really uncomfortable as she stared at us while I changed my son. I hated it. Story 41. I agree with the Christmas gift comment. For me specifically, I think giving gifts to your neighbors and also around the office. I can't tell you how many baskets full of food and boxes of chocolate my husband brings home at Christmas time from his office. I put some on a platter if I'm hosting Christmas, and if not, honestly, it goes in the garbage. I think if you are in good relations with your neighbors, that's really nice. But if you're in such good relationships with them, you should also be able to agree amongst yourselves that nobody really needs anything, not in terms of the types of things that people give: chocolates, wine, etc. It can be a big cost for a lot of people, and there's always this expectation to reciprocate. I just stopped that tradition and had my kids make Christmas cards, and we hand-delivered them to all the neighbors and simply wished them a Merry Christmas face-to-face. Nobody complained. Sometimes with these types of things you have to set the precedent, or nobody ever wants to step up and change the tradition. Story 42. Surprisingly, haven't seen it yet after scrolling through a lot of these comments. The expectation of being in a relationship, or if not in one, that you're looking for one. It's okay to be single and be content with your own company. It's like the underlying message is that you'll always be missing something if you're not with someone, and that you're not enough on your own as a single person. Story 43, tipping too much. It's gotten to the point where I don't even tip 15% anymore because that's the expected minimum and kind of frowned upon now. I always do 20% now, even when the service isn't the best or even when it's because if I ever return, I don't want them to spit in my food or treat me with passive aggressiveness. I'm weak, okay? And no, I don't tip at when I'm getting to go coffee, but I hate how there's the option to. Story 44, tipping culture in America, it's honestly getting out of hands. It's high time that management and establishments take ownership to ensure their employees get a fair wage per the state and employment laws and not push that responsibility onto the customers. Of all the countries I've been to so far, tipping culture is by far the worst in America. They expect to be tipped for doing the bare minimum in some cases. It's baffling and financially straining on the wallet of someone who is below average wage earner themselves. Story 45, professionalism. I'm self-employed and get to act like myself. It's great and liberating. Before that, when I had to keep up appearances with a job, I sucked at making the right noises to impress shallow bosses, whilst people with a fraction of skill climbed the pole kissing the right arse. I find the whole concept to be a hyper-normalized con game. Story 46, thank you notes. Seriously, I gave a baby shower gift and haven't received a thank you note and probably won't. I don't get mad because I didn't receive a thank you note, but I have seen family members act like it's the end of the world if they don't receive a handwritten thank you note. Story 47, elaborate gender reveal parties. I'm not sure how long they've actually been around for, but I can't say I remember seeing them prior to the past 10 years. A low-key gender reveal can be cute, but all of this crazy nonsense with fireworks and explosions and pyrotechnics and whatnot is too much. Story 48, social media for everything. It's breaking our brains. We don't get information, we get social media alerts. We don't talk about the important parts, we say the buzzword that will get likes. We have less and less places to go out and do stuff and meet people, and more online bullshit. Can't keep up on what's going on without 5 different social media accounts, all wired for engagement, all feeding you more crap while you spend an hour looking for the one thing you actually logged on for. Story 49, not having any asterisk say over your own working schedule, arguably not just a social norm, but the pervasive acceptance of it as a norm, and people acting like you're crazy for wanting, or expecting some semblance of consistency. The less you get paid, the less control of your own life you're supposed to be allowed to have over it. It's really Foskied up, honestly. But quite hard to get anyone to agree with that these days. Story 50, shaking hands. Obviously, COVID has seen to a lot of this, but it seems an unnecessary greeting gesture. It's also predominantly done by men and seems to be a way to display masculinity. I've seen peers judge people by their handshakes when really, it does not matter at all. Story 51, tipping in the U.S., driving in the left lane, using salt on roads, DIY checkouts, plastic bags, buying school supplies for schools that the kids never use, but can never be found again. Where do the 3,000 boxes of Kleenex go? They're not in the classrooms, and they're not in the storage lockers either. People taking selfies, people not knowing how to read or write in cursive. Your mom. Story 52, for birthdays or Christmas or WTV event presents a, hey, they might like this gift, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to get it. If you don't know if the other person will like it, then don't get it. Can't count how many times I gotten a gift and it's something that I don't even like it. So now you have to pretend to like it when you open the gift. I would rather get nothing. Story 53, having a diagnosis for every quirky personality. Sometimes we are just born different and we don't need a diagnosis, so we can sit home and do nothing because we are this or that. Sometimes our mental illnesses make us create beautiful art or genius decisions that make society better. We got to stop the excuses to lay down and just be mentally disabled. Story 54. If you're going to share an opinion at work in public space, expect opposition. If you're unable to deal with people openly disagreeing with you, you're not mature enough to share an opinion. Social media has given certain types of people the mindset that likes/interactions online == validation/justification in real life. Story 55. The norm of aggressively policing opinions or gatekeeping certain topics. On Reddit, it often feels like if you don't express your thoughts in exactly the right way or follow the in-group's mindset, you get shut down or dismissed. It stifles genuine discussion and makes the platform feel more like a popularity contest than a space for open dialogue. Story 56. That everybody needs to go to college, There's some career paths that an apprenticeship or a tech school would be fine going through the full college system, and taking all those worthless classes to get your college credits has gotten so ridiculous, especially with the price TLDR focus on what you want to do before going into college and not trying to figure out what you want to do while in college. Story 57, calling distant family members as a kid and adult to say thanks for the tenner they posted to you for your birthday. I don't even know you. We've met twice and now we have to have a whole conversation? Of course I'm grateful, but if the only effort being made is a card once a year with a tenner in it, I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean much to me. Story 58, work parties. Get drunk, say something. Awkward feeling afterwards. Next day your desk is packed up and fired. I never drank to access, only with friends. At work, not at all. I do not understand the Japanese need to drink at work outings. Story 59, those freaking weird group signature sympathy cards, especially when I don't know the person. Twice now in work environments, I have been chastised for not wanting to chip in for funeral flowers for someone I did not know, or signing a sympathy card for someone I also did not know. Story 60, recording everything at concerts. I get that people want something to help them remember the event. I'm not even judging people for taking photos, videos, on the sole purpose of posting them on social media. But surely you don't need every minute of the performance on your phone. What's the point of going to a concert if you spend more time focusing on getting the videos you'll never watch later? Story 61, taking a surplus of photos at vacation tourist spots. I find it infuriating when people just stop right in front of you or take up a whole area just to find that right photo. It feels like we can't take in the moment anymore without people seeing if they got the right photo to remember it by. Story 62, perfume/cologne/laundry fragrance boosters. 15. 30% of people report that these fragrances causes issues such as headaches, migraines, and airway irritation. Fragrance makers keep figuring out how to make them stronger and stronger, and people using them continue to become more and more nose blind to them. I wish people knew how frustrating it was to have migraines triggered so often because someone wants to smell extra good. Story 63. I just want to see more acceptance of others and less judgmentalness. Empathy needs to be a skill people are taught and practice. I genuinely, at my core level, do not understand why so many people can't empathize with others who have a different experience, because we all can't relate to everything, but we can relate to the emotions behind things and the feeling of wanting to be understood. Story 64. I kind of wish as a society, we put more care into how we looked in public. I love how back in the day, people would get dressed up in beautiful dresses or suits to go grocery shopping. Even I don't dress up. I look like a slob most of the time, and I'm starting to hate it, but it's standard and normal in the Western world. Story 65. Having to be available 24/7. It's annoying for myself and when I'm around other people. I've been making a huge effort to be away from my phone more, especially when I'm with someone. It's so hurtful to the other person to be checking your phone and responding to messages when they're trying to spend time with you. I miss when cell phones were less present in our lives, and when you left the house, you weren't reachable, and people understood that. If you were out with someone, you had to actually engage with them the whole time. Story 66. The reliance on a daytime world in an ever-growing global workplace. Think of the traffic we could diminish, and therefore the carbon emissions we could save if only second and third shifts could be treated with the same respect as that person who comes into work at 8 a.m. to leave at 6 p.m. and only get paid for 8 of those 10 hours. I hate the daytime. There, I said it. If I could be out all night and sleep through the day, I would. We could save in real estate, where people could share desks and offices for those that have to go into an office for work, and people would not be so stressed from the overpopulation. While I'm at it, the only reason why I see someone going into work at some office is because there's a boss who needs their fragile ego stroked. Also, have you noticed that what used to be 9, 5 with a lunch break, has now become 8 or earlier to 6 or later, with no break at all in our ever-creeping scope of what's expected? Also, why are there now tests, multiple interviews, and 2-week internships for a position that you will still be probationary for 90 days upon arrival? What happened to, okay, let's go with you, congratulations, you're hired? Story 67. Being a few min late rather than few min early. Also, posting everything about you online. Back when most people had zero clues about the internet future, there was prevention about weird guy, stranger you shouldn't talk to. Nowadays, if you post something public, the IMG is public. Everyone can print it, make deep fake out of it, re-upload to weird website and database if it's not already done by API or the social media itself with labels. I mean, stop posting yourself naked. You're too child to 2K followers, underage and under the legal user age still making accounts. This is hard to stop, of course, but you see now what someone can do with a video. Almost anything. Can find your home address, social security, call, mimic your voice. Story 68. Communal food sharing and lunches in workplaces. Honestly, I wouldn't care if I weren't expected to participate. But my last job, oh my God, I was judged like crazy for not wanting to eat food ordered by the office, join the coffee buying thing, contribute to potlucks, and also eat food that was put on our communal counter uncovered for hours or days and touched and molested by everyone in the office. Like, I never made a big deal about it, just said no thanks to certain things and didn't partake of others. I brought a cake and fruit tarts for the birthday person I was assigned to, but didn't want anything to do with having to eat things people brought in. I have gastro issues, sensory issues surrounding food, and I stress out about eating things that other people handle. I don't even drink coffee and only order it when I am the one making sure it's decaf or I get debilitatingly sick. I don't want to deal with the reciprocity of accepting and then having to return a favor, and I don't carry cash or use payment apps. Just no thank you. Move along. I didn't want that on me at work, and it's stupid that it's a bonding experience to some, but that it's a pressure and expectation. They were great about asking about food allergies and such, fair and well done, but I simply don't want to eat your communal food while sitting in a circle when it might make me throw up or get the shits when we don't have a private bathroom. Why should I have to explain that? Normalize making no thank you a complete answer. Story 69. People saying what they want to say without consequence. I was born in the 90s, and it was way more people who just kept all the bad they wanted to say to themselves because you get punched in the mouth. There was a lot more of shutting the up and keeping it to yourself. Story 70. If I called put of work for the day, it means I'm sick or injured. It does not mean let's negotiate me coming in anyway. I understand it will count against me. I'm in pain and don't care. Don't text or call me other than I hope you feel better. On a lot of pain meds today and still in pain. Story 71. Long drawn-out text conversations. IDK, maybe it's BC. I didn't have an actual cell that could do more than call and play Snake until I was in my 20s, but I cannot stand the need to constantly keep a text conversation going for days just for the other person to feel like I'm interested. For me, anything that requires more than a handful of responses should either wait till we meet up or have a phone call. I'm fine with the getting to know you phase, but when I'm at work, I can't really use my phone too much, and I just hate that anxiety of having to respond right away. When I was a kid, when you went out, you went out. Someone called and left a message. If it isn't urgent, call them back tomorrow. Who cares? I wouldn't talk to my GF all day, so when she'd call or I'd call, our conversations were fun and interesting. Now that we have to text all day, I already know what your day was like, and after a while, I always end up getting this growing need to just take a break from the person for a dat. I hate it. Story 72. Incredibly fancy, hyped-up proposals and engagement rings. Like, yeah, I'm happy for you, mate, but really no one gives a about it except you. Go be happy together, but you don't need a photo shoot, and I'm sure your ring is pretty. And even if it isn't, I'd never say that because people like different things, and OMG, like no one cares. Story 73. Stereotypical baby showers. I'm talking the baby games, everybody feeling like they need to wear a floral dress, the decorations that most likely will end up in a landfill the next day, and the lengthy process of watching the pregnant person open every single gift. Yes, it is special, and the parents, and child-to-be are important and loved. Time for society to show them that in new ways that don't create a ton of one-day use items that become garbage. Time to do this in a way that has less awkward moments of performative surprise and sweetness from everyone. Time to make it fun, and stop requiring these to perpetuate societal female stereotypes and sexist expectations. Story 74. Making excuses to be polite in flakiness or rejection. I'm not talking about when a woman rejects a guy at a bar or something. I mean when a friend rejects another friend's suggested activity. If I don't want to go to the bar on Tuesday night, why can't I say no without being asked why? Conversely, if I invite someone to go to the bar on a Tuesday and they say no, I'm not going to take it personally. So why do they feel the need to give me a laundry list of excuses? A simple, no, I'm busy tonight, or no, I don't want to tonight should suffice. I don't need the whole, well, maybe, let me see. I have to see if I get my laundry done, and I have to feed the cat. But if it isn't too late when I finish, I might show up speech. If you genuinely mean it, then sure, say it. But if you say things like that a few times in a row, I'm going to probably get frustrated and reach out to different people. If that was their goal the whole time, I wish they'd have just said it up front so we were on the same page, and I stopped wasting my time extending the invitations. IDK, I guess I value my own and others' time, so I'm very direct and intentional. I'm also an incredibly busy person and very rarely just chill after work until bed, so I have to make time for people. As a result, I pride myself on honoring my commitments. I find it very frustrating and disrespectful when I make time for people and they get all flaky maybe on me. Story 75. I wish women would be more comfortable with making the first move. The current climate is that men are expected to make the first move if she's interested, but also that women feel uncomfortable and creeped out if the man is wrong. I've defaulted to just not asking out anyone other than on the cancer that is the dating apps, because that's the only safe space where I know there's mutual interest before we start talking. Story 76. Wedding racket. Expensive everything that no one truly remembers unless it's a super fancy one. Middle-class families attempt an expensive weekend as if it were a royal diplomatic marriage. Budgeting requires cutting guests and plus 1S. I dream of a giant party with plenty of affordable food and whoever wants to come instead of stressing family out with limited reservations at an expensive hotel. Instead of a dedicated venue that people won't remember. Instead of pricey flowers that people wish weren't crowding the table. Essentials, ceremony and party. Instead of pics on social media to be scrolled past in a day, people's words of how great the party will live forever. Story 77. Parents letting their kids have unlimited, sometimes unrestricted monitored, screen time and limits. My 12-year-old wants TikTok and other social media. He hates that his phone locks after 3 hours of use. He's always so angry that he has limits with his phone. He says, but so-and-so has this app or so-and-so gets to be on when they want. Story 78. Donating to Goodwill. The majority of their donations never get to the sales floor and many are overpriced. They have so much overhead and are very inefficient. Donate to smaller charity shops and church thrift stores instead. Or sell it yourself on FB Marketplace or a garage sale and donate the money to your favorite charity. Story 79. Saying, trust the science or using data science in your argument. I am scientist from a top 10 institute in the world. I conduct science and publish it for a living. Everyone cites it wrong and doesn't actually understand data, I promise you. 99.9% of Americans using data on the internet use it wrong, and it is so wrong, you don't even know it is wrong. I get so frustrated, haha. The number of times people have misrepresented my work is embarrassing. Story 80. On a less serious but still irksome note, greeting cards, holiday cards, family newsletters, and thank you cards. No, I do not want to enter into a strained correspondence with you. I don't want to be obliged to keep these cards. I don't need or want to be thanked for gifts I've given you for large events, even less for gifts I have given in person. None of these things are useful, enjoyable, or represent real communication. I hope they vanish completely. Story 81. I don't have kids, so I can't confirm if this is as much of an issue as it appears to be, but obsessed grandparents. I've seen my in-laws behave this way, and I've heard a lot of people mention the same thing. It's like they think they have a right to the kids. They want to be there for everything and know everything happening in their lives. Information diets for everyone. Story 82. Tipping. It's off the rails at this point. Tipping culture in North America has turned what was supposed to be a bonus for exceptional service into a fee. Customers expect to tip, staff expect to be tipped, and employers expect to profit off both. It's absurd. What's even worse is that tipping culture has extended into even the most basic of transactions and encounters. Why am I being prompted to leave a 20% tip for picking up my own takeout order? Why should socialization pressures dictate that I tip for curbside pickup, in addition to the cost of curbside pickup? Why is the rude waiter, who deliberately spilled hot sauce on us because he didn't like the color of our skin and who told us to go back to our own country, still surprised and getting vocally indignant when we don't leave him a sizable tip, or tip at all? Why is there an expectation that we pay the taxi driver in addition to the service rendered, including the base fee for calling a ride, distance traveled, and compensation for any unexpected delays or wait times? Isn't that comprehensive enough? When did it no longer become sufficient to pay a service cost based on the cost of the service? It's not tipping that bothers me per se. It's that tipping has become the default and no longer means what it used to and should. It's when an overhead fee added to a bill tries to masquerade as a gratuity. It's when social pressure is so strong and judgment is so intense for being the cheapskate who doesn't tip that we're made to feel guilty and embarrassed. It's when you find yourself feeling self-conscious as you enter your tip on the machine, hoping nobody notices when you punch too many buttons because the 0% tip option appears under custom tip and takes you to a separate screen and requires 2 extra buttons. I wish that restaurants, vendors, and services would just raise their prices rather than trying to hide them under the guise of generosity. I know that many people have successfully learned how to give 0 fucks for giving 0 tips, but it's going against social convention, and by definition, most people don't have that kind of fortitude. I certainly don't. Story 83. The notion that the human body in its natural naked state is somehow offensive, by making simple nudity a big deal, merely empowers the people who use it in an offensive manner. Shame is an invention of man, used to control the masses through psychological manipulation and persecution.